Thank you very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We will continue with the next session. We are now focusing on from policy to practice, facilitating women leadership in tourism. Now, this session will explore how to dismantle the glass ceiling and other structural barriers preventing women from reaching executive leadership and board positions. The panelists will share actionable tools and successful pathways for increasing female representation in high-level governance. Our moderator today is Mr. CHICALU. He is the CEO, Namibia Tourism Board. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome back in the session, dear audience. Thank you so much. I'm joined by the higher level and distinguished members as speakers. I would like to call them through or on the stage so that we can really kickstart and without wasting time. I want to call Excellency Princess Cooper. Please, as they come, please give a round of applause. We just had coffee and tea and water. I think the energy levels will be high. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. Dr. Barbara Kai, Director of Gender, Western Economic and Monetary Union. Ms. Julia KAGWA, my colleague, CEO, Uganda Tourism Board. Prof. Nelly Swart, Professor of Tourism, Director of Executive Education at Graduate School of Business Leadership, University of South Africa. Last but not least, Dr. Mavis Ibanda, Permanent Secretary of Women Affairs, Community and Small and Medium Enterprise Development. I'm glad I'm the only man, but I'm also only facilitating. Thank you so much. All right, I think we can kickstart by this introduction, really. It's really undisputed that tourism is a vital sector in Africa, contributing significantly to economic growth, employment creation. And according to UN Tourism, Africa received a record of 81.3 million international tourists in 2025. An 8% increase as of that last year, which is 2024. Women are at the forefront of the tourism labor force and make up 78% of the hospitality workforce across the continent. However, data show that gender disparity remain prevalent, with women often occupying lower paid informal jobs while facing barriers to leadership roles and decision-making positions. At the highest level, while gender parity has not yet been reached, Africa is the leading world region in 2025 for a number of women as tourism ministers at 42%. Can we clap for Africa as well for that? Gender-responsive policies in tourism can transform the sector by promoting inclusivity, equity, and opportunity for women at all levels toward the achievement of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals 5, on gender equality, and the UN Agenda 2030 on sustainable development. So this panel, therefore, as introduced, will look at the barriers that will still prevent many women from reaching senior leadership and board positions in tourism and what can be done to change that. Panelists will share the examples of good practices elsewhere in the world and on their life experience from both the public and private sector with our audience here today. Dear speakers, let's start with Excellency Princess Cooper. Yes, what can governments and businesses do differently to create clear pathways and more opportunities for women to access leadership roles in tourism? I'm starting with President Cooper, but also it can later, and anyone else in the panel can respond. And in the meantime, allow me just to take a seat.
Thank you for that question. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is such a very important question because without the government and the private sector, the tourism sector will not strive. But what I can say that the government needs to do is policy reform. Our policies in government has to incorporate women empowerment, and women have to be at the front row of drafting those policies. So government needs to get more women involved when they are writing policies that surround women in tourism. Another area is linking women to public procurement policies, making sure that women in tourism are given the opportunity of 40% for all tourism-related contracts. That way, we are able to empower more women in the tourism sector to become leaders and to also empower and create jobs for others. Another important point is something that has been stressed for the last 2 days, which has to be the access to finance and access to market. Government needs to put in measures to be able to grant low interest rate facilities to women in the tourism sector and also create the access to market so that the products and services can go global and local. When it comes to businesses, businesses need to be more transparent in hiring women into leadership positions. The tourism sector is highly run by women, but mostly on the lower level. We have to reach to a point where we can get more women on mid-level and senior management level, and we need to hold these businesses accountable for that. We have to move away from awareness to accountability. How are we holding the government and these businesses accountable to ensure that women are participating at the mid to senior level positions in
Thank you so much, Mr. CHICALU. Yeah. Maybe just to go back one step, if I may. Government has a leading role in terms of the implementation of these policies. And what we have seen is we have brilliant policies across the African continent, and research is telling us that. And we've done a specific study where we assessed where has the most research been done on the empowerment of women in terms of entrepreneurship, and that has been done on our continent. And everyone advocates for the implementation of policies, and there's evidence that these policies have been implemented. The problem that we have is the execution of that. And it's time that we start to look differently about these policies. And if I may, most of the answers, we always look at the global north. We look at the Global North methodologies, we've looked at the principles, we've looked at their practices, and we think it's going to work for Africa. And unfortunately, it's not going to work for Africa. So with all of the work that's been done, and with all of the international benchmarking that we've done, we always think we get the answers across the waters. And I think it's time for us as Africa to look at African solutions for African problems, and specifically in terms of the empowerment of women. We need to look at African epistemologies and ontologies and kind of methodologies on how we can actually implement this. And I think one of the solutions to this is by creating an intra-Africa kind of exchange as we have with the Intra-Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. And we start to applying those principles also in how we as women conduct business and how we are engaging with each other. Because if we start to create a knowledge hub within Africa, and as women we start to empower each other by lifting each other's up, I think we will have quite a global force that the rest of the world will envy. And I hope that this has hopefully honored the wonderful introduction that was done by Princess Cooper. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Dr. Barbara, the recent IMF report on gender equality in WAEMU suggested that the region has made progress towards gender equality, but that progress could be sped up. In your view, what measures need to be taken to boost women's economic empowerment in the region, and how can women leaders help to accelerate that progress?
Merci bien. Alors, je voudrais quand même, avant de délivrer quelques réponses, dire qu'ici, il est dit que nous venons du Burkina Faso, mais en fait, l'Union économique et monétaire ouest-africaine est représentée par 8 pays. On peut considérer qu'à la discussion ici, il y a le Bénin, le Burkina, la Guinée-Bissau, la Côte d'Ivoire, le Mali, le Niger, le Sénégal et le Togo. Et merci à... Oui? Ah oui, très bien, excusez-moi. J'irai lentement aussi pour l'interprétation. Je peux y aller? 2 minutes encore.
Dr. Barbara, I think you can go ahead. There's a translation happening. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Désolée de vous faire prendre vos écouteurs. Depuis le début, on parle qu'anglais. J'ai choisi de parler français un peu pour vous taquiner. Donc, ici, nous parlons de gouvernement. Comment est-ce que le gouvernement intervient? Un gouvernement intervient par les politiques publiques. Le professeur l'a dit tout à l'heure, les politiques publiques ne sont pas genre sensibles. Si l'ensemble des politiques publiques intégraient vraiment le genre, il n'y aurait pas d'équité entre hommes et femmes. Alors, au niveau de l'UEMOA, au niveau régional, nous avons une politique commune du tourisme pour les 8 pays. Mais au niveau de chaque pays, qu'est-ce qui est fait? Je vais prendre à mon compte l'ensemble des recommandations que Excellence a bien voulu nous donner et essayer de vous dire comment est-ce que l'on fait ça. On va dire que pour porter les femmes au poste de responsabilité, au poste de leadership dans le tourisme, il va falloir les former. Ministère en charge de l'enseignement. Il va falloir assurer l'accès au marché. Que fait le ministère en charge du commerce? Il va falloir proposer des financements adaptés aux besoins des femmes. Que fait le ministère en charge du budget? Et etc., etc. C'est dire que tout ce qui concourt à régler le problème de ce leadership appartient à un ministère donné. C'est ce ministère qui doit faire sa part pour que l'ensemble concourt à élever les femmes au poste de responsabilité. Et je tiens à préciser que le leadership n'est pas que les postes de responsabilité. Il y a le leadership économique également. Nous avions parlé des chaînes de valeur, des femmes dans l'agriculture. Qu'est-ce qui se fait au niveau de la politique agricole? C'est la raison pour laquelle il faut institutionnaliser le genre dans l'ensemble des domaines. Et c'est ce que la conférence de Beijing a dit en 1995. Mais 30 ans après, les inégalités persistent. La conférence n'a pas dit comment est-ce que l'on institutionnalise le genre. Alors qu'est-ce que les gens ont fait? Dans chaque ministère, on a mis en place des points focaux genre. Ce sont des personnes, généralement des femmes, qui font le plaidoyer pour qu'on intègre le genre dans le secteur donné. Et ça se résout à quoi? Généralement, des activités concernant les femmes, tout simplement. Alors que ce n'est pas du tout ce qui est attendu. Au niveau de la commission de l'UEMOA, nous avons analysé les systèmes de planification de l'ensemble des pays. Parce que pour intégrer le genre, il faut passer par la chaîne de la planification. Et cette chaîne de la planification, c'est planification, je dis en gros, planification, budgétisation, suivi, évaluation, avec des indicateurs sexo-spécifiques. Et je reviens à ma politique publique. Prenons par exemple la politique du tourisme. Comment est-ce que l'on élabore la politique du tourisme? On commence par faire un diagnostic. Et ce diagnostic doit être sexo-spécifique, c'est-à-dire déterminer les problèmes des femmes. Qu'est-ce qui empêche les femmes d'être optimales dans le tourisme? Qu'est-ce qui empêche les hommes d'être optimaux dans le tourisme? Une fois que ces problèmes sont exhumés, la politique, en fait, c'est des actions qui répondent à ces problèmes-là. Une fois qu'elle est érigée, ensuite elle est budgétisée, on la met en œuvre, on en fait le suivi-évaluation, mais toujours avec des indicateurs sexo-spécifiques et un cadre de rendement sexo-spécifique. Et qui est-ce qui est chargé de faire cela? Ce sont les planificateurs. Si vous avez une politique publique qui n'est pas au diagnostic sexo-spécifique, eh bien plus tard, le genre ne sera pas intégré. C'est pour ça que nous avons créé un schéma type d'institutionnalisation du genre qui a été adopté par notre Conseil des ministres, qui regroupe les ministres en charge des finances. En fait, il s'agit tout simplement d'un dispositif qui montre dans toute l'administration les points clés où il faut être pour intégrer le genre. Un des exemples, c'est que dans chaque ministère, on va au sein de cette direction de la planification et on inscrit une cellule qui est chargée d'institutionnaliser le genre. C'est elle qui va porter la question dans la politique publique en question. Au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale, on dit que la loi de finances, quand on parle des femmes, on va peut-être dire qu'il faut des lois qui favorisent les femmes. Mais la loi la plus importante à l'Assemblée nationale, c'est la loi de finances. Il faut que la loi de finances soit annexée d'un rapport genre qui va montrer aux députés est-ce que le projet de loi va contribuer à augmenter ou réduire les inégalités. Au niveau, par exemple, du secrétariat général du gouvernement, vous savez que tout ce qui va au Conseil des ministres passe par le secrétariat général. Et bien là, on met un marqueur genre. Tous les documents qui arrivent pour être adoptés par le Conseil des ministres, s'ils ne sont pas genre sensibles, ils sont retournés. C'est ainsi que dans tous les secteurs, on va passer à ce prisme-là. Et c'est ainsi que l'institutionnalisation du genre pourra se faire dans chaque domaine. Et il faut souligner que la question de la budgétisation sensible au genre est clé. Et vu que le temps de parole est limité, j'aurai peut-être le temps d'en venir après, parce que la budgétisation sensible au genre, ce n'est pas de prévoir un quota d'argent pour les femmes. Ça part de la politique. Comme je vous l'ai dit, lorsque les problèmes sont sexo-spécifiques, la budgétisation vient après. Je vais donc m'arrêter là en disant que dans ce schéma que nous avons proposé, les ministères qui sont importants et qui portent le tout, en plus de celui du tourisme, c'est nécessairement le genre, parce que c'est lui qui porte la politique genre au niveau national. Le ministère du Budget, parce que c'est lui qui est chargé de la répartition des ressources, celui de la fonction publique, parce que tous les cadres des ministères doivent être formés en genre dans tous les domaines. Et c'est la fonction publique qui s'occupe de ça, et c'est elle aussi qui fait les organigrammes. Et le plus important, la décentralisation. Que les choses ne restent pas au niveau national, il faut que ça aille aussi vers les collectivités, vers les zones rurales. Et pour ce qui est du secteur privé, je dirais simplement qu'il faut privilégier le partenariat public-privé. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Dr. Barbara. That's an excellent input there. And I think we'll do the summary at the end, but I'm picking up the issues of monitoring, evaluation, targets, and also having other institutions coming in, including the budgeting. Thank you for this input. My colleague, Ms. Julia KAGWA, firstly, congratulations on your professional achievement and for the role as a CEO at Uganda Tourism Board. Please help me congratulate her in her appointment. Well, for your experience, before I ask you whether you brought matoke with you, what barriers have you faced in your career so far that you think many Ugandan women could identify with, and what is your message to them?
Yeah, maybe this is better. Thank you. Merci. That's as far as I'll go. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, my colleague and partner in arms, as we continue to grow African tourism and arrivals to this continent. I've been in the role a little under a year, so you'll allow me to, since I have the microphone, to just say one or two things about Uganda. Very, very undercalled destination in Africa. Uganda is home to over 50% of the last remaining mountain gorillas on planet Earth, in case you didn't know. Yes. So we've got about 29 families of the mountain gorillas. Some are habituated, some are not. But in case you're choosing your next destination or your next area of exploration, please explore Uganda, the primate capital of the world.
Thank you.
And that's my pitch.
Thank you.
I'm a saleswoman, so I'm always selling. But back to the issue at hand in terms of empowerment and how I've experienced it through my own career. I think the ladies have already talked about what we need to do in terms of upskilling, education, financing, measurement and evaluation, because that's where it starts from. Implementation, Professor, as you said, and measurement and evaluation of these policies that governments have put in place. It's critical as we continue to go towards Vision 2040 or 2050. So I'd like to speak maybe just 2-3 steps back from where we are now. We're in positions of leadership. We can influence policy. We can set up frameworks that see women prosper within tourism and beyond. But I'd like to talk about the girl child, of which all of us were at one point. Some of us a longer time than others. And I think that empowerment really should start from the girl child. For us to set up frameworks to address women who are already working, thriving, as it were, I think negates the job to be done from the grassroots, especially for Africa, where our demographic is, predominantly below the age of 18 years. In Uganda, because that's a statistic I know of heart, over 67% of our population is below the age of 30. So, and then more so, most of those are even below the age of 16. So we need to start, I think, from the grassroots on the girl child. And I'll give an example of one of the things that I experienced in my own education as a girl that propelled us forward. So 20 years ago, admission to universities in Uganda were skewed towards the boy child. So much so that I think about 85% of admissions were male. in the largest and most prestigious university, Makerere University, where some of our presidents in Africa actually were educated. So what happened is that, the government put in place a policy back then that empowered or gave a competitive edge to the girl child for admission to the university through an extra point, 1 point, not much, it was 1.5, on their overall performance, so that they get an opportunity, same as the boy child who at that time probably is not doing chores in the house, doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting, babysitting. When you're a girl, you're somehow, some of the household responsibilities are inherited by you from your mom or your aunties, etc. So you don't get as much study time. You might not get as much exposure. If it's school trips, I can think of a couple that I missed out on, and my brothers were able to go simply because I had to stay behind and do, something for my mom. So that 1.5 or 1 extra point has now manifested 20 years after the fact that admission in Makerere University, which was only 15% for the girl child, is now at 51%. We've actually even overtaken the boy child.
Give an applause.
And I wanted to share that story because it's an example of a policy that looked at the grassroots issue, at the genesis of the matter, and addressed it from source. And the M&E of it in this year now, currently 2026, is that we even have the luxury of interrogating the 51% now. Now it's a problem of, but what are they being admitted for? Imagine, so we've moved from they were not being admitted at all to what are they being admitted for? Do we have enough female representation in the sciences, in technology? Are they doing mathematics? So I truly believe if we look at it from the grassroots as leaders, as people who have an opportunity, whether it's through mentorship of these girls below 18 years of age, whether it's about adoption of different frameworks that allow them to, I'm part of a group in Uganda called Girls for Girls, that allow powerful women like the ones on this stage to start talking to 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, because this is a time their minds are being shaped, their minds are being formed. I believe by the time they get on this stage, we won't have to discuss policy anymore because they've experienced it, same as I did in my career, Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Dr. Mavis Sibanda, Permanent Secretary for Women Affairs, Community and Small and Medium Enterprise Development. We have seen in Zimbabwe that Zimbabwe is not short of strong leading women in the public sector and tourism. However, this is not always the case when we look at the top of the private sector in tourism. What policies are that the government is implementing to facilitate more women's career progression in the tourism sector in Zimbabwe, and how are you measuring the impact of these policies? If you may just share experience.
Thank you very much. It is true that we have many strong women in Zimbabwe, especially in tourism.
Doc, if you can just speak with the mic quickly. Yeah.
Thank you, Moderator. Let me say, it is very true that we've got many strong women in tourism. My belief is that in Zimbabwe, we've tried our best to have many women in leadership, actually in tourism. We look at it from different angles. If you are looking at women working, those who are employed, yes, there are not too many who are in leadership positions. But we have a lot of women who are actually owners of hotels and lodges. They are actually in leadership positions, decision-making positions. So we are very excited. If you look at Victoria Falls here, you'll find that there are many women who own. In Bulawayo, actually, most of the lodges are owned by women who have turned their houses into lodges. What they need is mentorship, they need training so that they manage their resources better. If you go to Harare, it's the same. Gweru, most of the lodges are owned by women. And I'm saying these are owners, they are decision makers. With regards to the big companies, big hotels, yes, it is true that we still have less women in leadership positions. But we are saying as a government, we are encouraging that there should be gender equality. We have our national gender policy of 2025, which we came up with after serious consultations. Everybody participated to come up with that policy. So we are saying our private sector should buy in and see that they take the women who are employed into processes, train them so that they are ready to go into senior leadership positions. We are also, as I think the previous speakers, even the previous panel, talked about mentorship. We have a lot of women who have done very well. Some of the ladies are actually own even hotels outside the country. These are the women who are now mentoring these other ones so that they understand what is supposed to be done. With regards to those who are employed, the government has come up with policies which are actually safeguarding the ladies against GBV. As I've said, we've got the national gender policy. His Excellency the President is the he for she champion in this country. He signed a high-level political compact against GBV and harmful practices. And that brings people into accountability to say, you shall not practice GBV. The workspaces should be safe spaces. So the training which we're giving our women and SMEs is to give them courage and confidence to take up the positions in leadership. In the private sector, in the public sector, we have policies. We have got policies which actually encourage 50-50 representation in government and the private sector. So is our constitution. Our constitution says we shall have 50-50. We aspire, it will not take place within one day. So what has happened is that the constitution has actually allowed that we have women to be quotas in parliament and in the council. So all those things have given our women power, not only in the public sector, it is also the power is there in the private sector.
Thank you, Prof. Mavis. Prof. Nelly, as both a leader and a professor at the University of South Africa, you must see the difficulties in your students' faces as they begin their careers and be acutely aware of the data and research on women's leadership in tourism. Can you tell us a bit more about how you see academia's role in changing the gender balance at the top of the tourism employment in the future? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. CHICALU, for the question. First of all, I think is by getting involved as academia. I think by pledging support for equitable employment, empowerment of women. As academia, we have a voice, and we have an opportunity through our research to also to advocate for that. But also in academia, we need to understand that the educational landscape has changed. And 10 years ago, as the University of South Africa, we have responded to a call by our National Department of Tourism when they saw the need for the empowerment of women. And we have developed an executive development program for women in tourism, which we have implemented and collaborated with the National Department of Tourism after we won the tender. And we have seen over the 4 intakes of 125 women that we had an 88% success rate. Of the women that have completed the program and who continue to engage with us, about a third of them has indicated that they had career advancement within the first 2 years after they have completed the program. However, we need to understand in the rest of the African continent, we always talk about training and education. And training and education is done on the African continent. But the majority of this training and education is on vocational level. So we are preparing, in most of the cases, majority of our graduates are women, for entry-level positions because it is vocational training. And I think it is important for us that we now look at other methods of training, like, for instance, executive education, where we can capacitate women who is already in the workplace to further their education and training through shorter programs, where we can capacitate them with management and leadership skills to equip them to raise their hand and say, I am willing to go for a middle or a senior management position. And we have a wonderful success story with that. We've used that to inspire a book, the Routledge Handbook on Gender in Tourism, which was led by African scholars. So we are trying to sell this idea of the success stories of Africa also into the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Let me go to Excellency Princess Cooper quickly before I come back to academia and in terms of training. Director General, of course, Liberia has reached some impressive milestone in history in terms of women empowerment in Africa. You were the first elected female president who went on to share Nobel Peace Prize. That's a fact. That's a fact of history. But we want to understand what is the current situation on the ground for women in tourism, how difficult it is for Liberian girls to achieve their professional dreams and attain leadership position. What would you say?
First of all, I would like to say thank you for recognizing Liberia's milestone in the history of women empowerment. My former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, became the first female president in Africa. Her legacy has demonstrated to the world and to every Liberian girl that the highest office knows no gender. So every woman around the world knows that they can be whatever and whoever they decide to be. But to answer your question, like you rightly said, the historic milestone and the current reality has left a gap for women in tourism. Due to the multiple challenges that women in Liberia face, and I will give example of a few of them in terms of infrastructure gap, road access, to take businesses, tourism businesses from the capital to the rural parts of the country, electricity, which put a burden on small businesses in terms of high cost of operation. And then we also look at the lack of training and empowerment for these young women. But the good thing about Liberia the tourism sector in Liberia is dominated by women. And we have proven that we have what it takes to lead. What the question is now is the infrastructure, the capital, and the policy capable of meeting up to the ambition of Liberian women? And the answer is no. But however, luckily for us, we have a president who is the chief ambassador for women empowerment. If you look at our hierarchy in government, you will notice that a lot of women hold top position. Our foreign minister is a woman, our gender minister is a woman, our education minister is a woman, our commerce minister is a woman, our health minister is a woman, and now I am the inaugural Director General of the Liberia National Tourism Authority.
Oh, wow. Let's give her an applause. That's an achievement in terms of women empowerment.
Thank you very much. So there's a lot of work being done to ensure that women are actually empowered in Liberia. And I will speak from my authority. When I became Director General, my job was to empower women on the middle to senior management level. And I've successfully empowered 60% of my senior management level are all women. They are directors, they are managers.
Great.
But I don't stop there. I make sure that they attend some of these meetings from outside stakeholders so they understand they're not just driving the institution, but they're also understanding the needs of the public. What stakeholder wants, how can we help them? And sometimes in meetings, it's funny. I will send them texts and say, get ready to answer a question. And I'll just throw a question like, can you say something about the discussion? So it's my way of giving them a voice so that they can be able to talk. And in our authority, what we're doing, those we've empowered to middle and senior level management position, we've also tasked them to mentor other staff to ensure that they're able to turn the knowledge over to these other people so that when there are opportunities, they're able to take on these roles. So we're doing a lot in Liberia to ensure that women have a voice, especially in tourism. Mayura is here. She's a female and the head of the Liberia National Tourism Association. And we have women in the tourism sectors that are heading businesses. All the ecologists in Liberia is ran by a woman. But the infrastructure gap needs to be addressed. So as a government official, and what my president is doing, is focusing more on tourism. As a matter of fact, tourism is part of his agenda for the next 5 years, which is called the Arrest Agenda. And the T in the Arrest is tourism. So he's intentional about developing the tourism sector. So what we're doing now, we're working along with key stakeholders in government and in the private sector to come up with policies, framework that drives the sector to empower women, to create jobs for our people, and to also provide a platform for young women in the tourism sector to succeed. Through policy reforms, like I said earlier, we need women to be a part of the policies that we are crafting, because at the end of the day, they will be the ones to benefit from it. But another key thing that we're also trying to do, we can sit in this room, we're all women. I see almost 98% of women, but I think we should have more men involvement. Because when we bring men into these forums, they understand where we're going, that we're not here to compete with them, but we're here to complement them, to develop our country and develop the world as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are good input. Men in the audience, thank you so much for joining this conference or this Congress. You are needed so that you understand what is being discussed at the women's conference. All right. Now, I was listening to a discussion, and I will then give a question back, between a 17-year-old sister and a brother who's 14 years old. All right, and they are talking. Now, in their discussion, one thing comes out. And the boy, who's a biological brother to the sister, he says, well, by the time I reach 17, he's now the 14-year brother talking to the sister of 17 years, I will not ask my dad or my mom or anybody to give me money. So dad stopped giving money to the 17-year-old daughter or sister. Now, his ambition is the drive and probably what you call internal compass brought into these discussions as well. Because without it, which embedded in you as an individual, how do we get a girl child, into the leading role in society? Any of my panelists can just pick up that. I see Dr. Mavis want to pick up, and then Juliana.
I think what is important is for us all to ensure that our children from primary education or even before they go to school, they should be taught that they are complete. I'm talking about the girl child. They should never be taught that they are soft, they can't do this. They should, when you have got a boy and a girl, you bring them up to do exactly the same thing. You should empower the girl child from birth, from the time you're talking to her. The girl child should be empowered. And they should never be treated differently. Of course, she should know that she's a woman, she's a girl, but she can do anything which the brother can do. And the brother can do anything which the sister can do.
Excellent. Excellent.
When we are doing the chores in the house, it should not be the girl child's duty to be washing plates only. All the kids should be prepared for the future. So it is important for us to train our kids from childhood so that they can face life and they can be empowered. You empower a girl child, you empower a woman, you have empowered the nation. I want to agree with my sister from Liberia that we need to increase our male engagement as Africa, so that the male, I am a mother of a son. When I'm the Secretary for Women Affairs, I'm not saying that my son should be downtrodden by my daughter-in-law. I'm saying my daughter-in-law should be empowered. So is my daughter. They should be empowered so that they can improve, they take care of their homes. My son will benefit from an empowered wife. Thank you.
Thank you. Prof. Nelly, and then Juliana.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of social challenges in today's society. And I think here our traditional leaders has a very important role to play because they bring discipline and stability in communities. And if our traditional leaders play that role by showing that for women and a man to be involved in the tourism and hospitality industry, there's no differentiation in roles, there's no differentiation in careers, there's no differentiation in chores. And I think if we have that kind of leadership and that kind of support, and we can overcome some of the broken households that we have in societies, I think we can fix a lot of problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Juliana?
Thank you for that question. And, I agree 1,000% with the previous speakers. And I'd like to maybe just share, because I am currently in a real life experiment of what happens when you nurture and condition boys and girls differently or the same. So, a very little unknown fact, I am a mother of quadruplets. So in my country, yes, I always get the best seat at the table, I get the best part of chicken. I mean, this job comes with so many perks. But yeah, and interestingly, it's 2 boys and 2 girls. So they're still under the age of 10, but I'm already seeing, because whether by design or default, they're getting the exact same treatment, they eat the exact same food. When somebody catches a cold in the house, you're guaranteed everybody's gonna have it, and they get the exact same medicine, and they all react so differently. I can tell you right now, the girls in my house are power sources. They are driving the economy in my house. Those 2 little girls, and so it's very interesting, because at some point, depending on how we continue to nurture and condition, it could very well switch. But right now, the boys are taking same age, same everything. They're taking all their cues from the girls. Nothing happens until the girls press a button on it. And I said, imagine, this is probably how we all came wired. We all came engineered this way. We had the right genetic makeup, everything. Then somewhere along the way, probably at around 13 years, as you've said, somebody told you, no, you need to take a step back and let those men lead. Yeah, because they know. Even if that boy was getting worse marks than you in class, some reason, it's, you know, his voice is always going to be heard. And I'd like to say something that I said to the other powerhouses I was speaking to yesterday. It starts very early, where boys get an opportunity to socialize with each other, whether it's through sports, games. You know, there's always that boys' club that starts to form in the teen years. Then later on, and it's good job we have the men in the house, so we're not gossiping about you. Then they mature from their teen clubs to golf. Then there's the whiskey club. Then there's the cigar club. Which club do girls have here? Which club do we have as women, apart from mothers? Some are lucky enough to be part of Mothers' Union. But when you're there, you're discussing children. When you're not there, you're discussing work, like here now. So when do these women in this room ever come away and just talk about life? It is very rare. But it is because of how we've conditioned. Girls, you work, 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 clean, 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 build, 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 give birth, give birth, give birth. I'm a perfect example. So at what point do I disconnect, re-energize, take care of me, take care of my own persona before trying to save the world?
Wow, that deserves an applause. That deserves an applause. It's true.
I think I'll leave it at that. Otherwise,
we'll continue afterwards.
I might take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. As we go proceed towards the closure. Now, again, is a discussion coming from the young people. I deal with a lot of young people in my society, and it's going on. It's not a debate, it's a discussion. And he says, started from what career I'm gonna choose, what career I'm gonna choose. And somebody says, by the way, at the end of it, there's one thing that we need that's in common. We need to leave from our professions, we need to leave from whatever we undertake or we're gonna study. Now that leads us into the question of entrepreneurship. Now how, and I want to give it to Dr. Barbara to start, is entrepreneurship training embedded in many training programs or social programs in probably your country or on the African continent, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurship will actually enterprise whatever that person has access to. If we can just lead us, because it's also, I don't know how we can link that to the policy issue in terms of the trainings and all programs that we are giving to the girl child. Dr. Barbara.
Merci bien. Donc, je vous laisse le temps de porter vos casques. Merci, Chair, pour cette question sur l'entrepreneuriat, parce qu'on constate effectivement que la question de l'entrepreneuriat ne paraît pas dans les cursus. Généralement, en tout cas, dans notre espace, lorsque l'on analyse, parce que nous avons une direction qui est chargée de l'enseignement, lorsque l'on analyse les programmes de formation, la question de l'entrepreneuriat ne fait pas partie. C'est la raison pour laquelle la Commission actuellement est en train d'enclencher une réforme pour pouvoir insérer la question de l'entrepreneuriat, et nous nous basons sur ce que nous appelons les maisons de l'entreprise pour pouvoir aussi créer le lien non seulement entre les cursus universitaires et primaires, même depuis le primaire, et aussi faire le lien pour pouvoir offrir des opportunités de stage dans les entreprises. Donc c'est vraiment une question cruciale que la Commission aujourd'hui prend à bras le corps avec une emphase sur la question du genre. Parce que dans l'entrepreneuriat, c'est davantage les femmes et aussi on lie ça au fait de formaliser les entreprises. Merci bien.
Thank you. Now, can we put up the menti.com quickly? As we draw closer to, I have 5 questions that we need to rank as audience as we conclude. I think we are all logged in, and these questions are, as we try to summarize so that we understand the priorities. Okay, do we all have access to menti.com? Okay. The questions are, which we need responses from you, is, which is the biggest barrier to increasing women leadership in tourism? 1, is it cultural attitudes and stereotypes? 2, is it gender-based violence? 3, is it domestic and care responsibilities? 4, is it recruitment practices? And 5, last, is it lack of incentives? Which is the biggest barrier to increasing women's leadership in tourism among the 5, if we were to prioritize them in terms of us as audience? Where is our priority? If you can just help us give us responses so that we can rank these 5 options and selecting the most important one that we need to deal with, especially through UN and all other governments and states. Okay, are you getting it right? Okay, can please help me, menti.com. There are 5 questions, as you can see them on the screen. I can see responses are coming through. We need to rank this. What is the biggest barrier to increasing women in leadership in tourism? Is it the cultural attitudes and stereotypes, or is it gender-based violence, or is it domestic and care responsibility, or is it recruitment practices, or is it lack of incentives? What is the biggest barrier to increasing women in leadership? Help us. And Jerry, we want that probably above 80% of us all in the audience can respond so that we can get a fair ranking of the barrier, the biggest barrier that we face for women leadership, or for achieving the highest levels of women leadership in tourism. Okay, rank them 1, 2, 3 to 5, and selecting the most important one first. Okay, are we getting there, colleagues? Are we participating, all of us? Okay, are we getting there? I can see responses coming through. Okay, I don't want to read first until the majority of us have responded. Have we responded, majority of us? All right. Now, according to this survey we just have done for your responses, the responses says, the biggest barrier to increasing women's leadership in tourism, number 1, it is the cultural attitudes and stereotypes, followed by recruitment practices, followed by domestic and care responsibilities, followed by lack of incentives, and then the gender-based violence almost at the last, still at the last. All right, this is our ranking. This is the audience ranking. That the biggest thing that we need to deal with, Your Excellencies, distinguished panel members, according to the audience, it is the issues of cultural attitudes and stereotypes. So our policies should be able to address that. Our interventions, our strategies, our programs need to touch base on the cultural attitudes and stereotypes, especially probably on the African continent in terms of these responses here. Do we all agree? Okay. Please help me then to say thank you to our distinguished panel members for their contribution, for their experience, for their insight that has been shared. Thank you, panel members, for your insight that has been shared with the rest of us. Thank you, and may God bless. Okay. All right, panel members required to come and do a group photo? What do you ask us? Okay, we do a group photo in front here.
Let's give them a round of applause. I know we've had several sessions and you have some questions that you'd like to ask. So as they're coming down, please prepare your questions. We will take maybe say 3-4 questions. It doesn't have to be on this last session. It can be on any of the sessions that we discussed today. All right, do we have another roving mic? Please, may we have someone with another roving mic so that we can have them move around the room? Okay, nobody? All right, I'll come back. I'll come to the back.
Is it good morning? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martinya Zema, and I own a small boutique lodge here in Victoria Falls. Obviously very proud that I'm Black, I'm female, and I own a 5-star lodge in Victoria Falls. Thank you, but I've also, as part of my background, I have studied quite a bit in tourism. One of the things just going through the last 2 days that I felt not was missing, but perhaps wasn't taken attention enough was when we talk about developing women all over Africa, we seem to go a lot, and there was a bit of a focus on rural areas, etc. And I've found personally that there is almost a missing middle that we are not taking advantage of enough, or that we are not looking after enough. These are people, maybe even students qualified, who've then gone and worked in corporate, in tourism. After 5-10 years, now they want to go into the private sector. But they then are faced with exactly the same challenges of banking, because now they're just told, well, come up with a lot of money, come up with this and that. And I think perhaps as part of our planning, even with the Whitlock from yesterday, which I found very fascinating, please don't forget the middle. There are a lot of ladies in their 30s and 40s, educated, have experience in tourism, but now want to go into that next level of opening their own businesses. Please support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you. We appreciate you. You've been doing a wonderful job since day one. And for me, and also just to thank UN, being Zimbabwean, Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, Minister of Tourism, and our very active Minister of Tourism. We here as private sector, and I quite like the panel here, and I just wanted to appreciate, because most times we kind of forget where we've come from. And I believe as women, the forerunners who have been before us have done a sterling job. I saw Dr. Mavis Wanda sitting there. She's PS of Women Affairs in Zimbabwe. And I saw a colleague that I kind of crossed paths with sometime. Is it Julian? At some point, we worked for the same organization. And I just want us to take a moment and appreciate the journey that women have walked. And when we're growing up, at some point, we started hearing about Beijing. Beijing was like the big thing for women. And those who attended, I was young then, those who attended, they came back with tangible steps, I guess from a policy-making point of view. They came back with policies, templates, you know. And for years, for decades, all we could hear as a girl child was Beijing, 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 Beijing. A few resistance here and there. And if you're a leader in any organization, and you're a woman, you'll be called Beijing. And it was a nickname. It took us a while, 2, 3, 4 years. At some point, it died down. So my question is, at what stage did Beijing die down? Was it necessary? And, or is it still there? And I'm not saying anything to the current crop of women leaders. I'm just saying, is there something that we can definitely say, this is a Beijing moment for us in this? She talked about the 20, 30, 40 years old women who want to step into the future. What are the things that we can intentionally do? I know we're doing a lot, but what is our Beijing moment for now? So if I'm to leave here, I'm gonna say I'm grateful because there was a forum organized by Ministry of Tourism in my country, and I'll forever remember this, because for me there's been great takeaways. I'm just wanting us to probably make history. Can someone in here, or maybe it has been done already, assist us in making that another Beijing thunder so that we get attention and we kind of leapfrog again into the future? I don't know what it can be called, maybe not Beijing. Maybe it's happening behind the scenes because we in the private sector, we kind of don't know what's happening. They would just, yeah. But I'm just saying, is there another, or is there something that is happening so that there's another Big Bang moment, Hazel? Another Big Bang moment for us. And maybe that is being done by the generation of Mavis Wanda. You know, for this is the one that we know in our country. Yeah, because at some point we knew that the people who went to Beijing, we kind of know them, and we know they made history. So, and we're part of it as well, but I just want that Big Bang thing for our generation. Maybe for us, the horse has bolted, but the 30, 40-year-olds, so that it's intentional, it's deliberate, and people keep being reminded. Thank you very much. But again, I just want to say thank you and well done to the women who are in this room. The academias, the Mais Wanda, the Gillian, former my workmate, and the lady from, the princess from Liberia, and Barbara, and everyone, and the professor from South Africa. I'm gonna have a conversation with you, Professor. And so thank you so much, ZTA Tourism of Zimbabwe, for doing this. Give us another Big Bang, Beijing. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Councillor Wiza from Watan Council. I'm very grateful to be part of this from UN, second UN regional. Sorry, okay. To be part of this program. And since Monday, I've been learning a lot. And for the person with disabilities, I can say it wasn't difficult. On the other hand, it's difficult. But my question is, on those people building up lodges, like for touring, how best or how far do you want to take your business? Because some places, they are not like user-friendly, like the bathrooms, the entrance areas, etc., a lot of things. So I don't know how best you can help persons with disabilities to be accommodated with the facilities. I don't know, maybe you can help me there.
I'll try to answer my sister Marjorie. Marjorie, it is now 31 years after the Beijing conference, and a lot has happened to after the Beijing conference. Part of the things which have happened, or which are good results after 31 years, is that we have been, there are measures, actually most of the governments in the world, they've put measures to reduce GBV, and also policies to empower women. The policies are still there, and we are still working on it. This is why you are a manager, my sister, because of the policies which are supportive to management. So the Beijing moment has not died. We are still working on it, and we are still trying our best to improve. Working with you, in our case, we are working with the private sector, the public sector, the private sector, to ensure that we take your concerns. And the national gender policy, which was unveiled last year during the SADC meeting, is there to assist women, to ensure that we are taking the women economic empowerment as well as social empowerment, they take center stage. So we are still there. My sister who talked about the need for the facilities to be sensitive, to ensure that they accommodate people who live with disabilities. I support what you are saying, my sister, and I think this is something which we should continuously discuss with the tourism sector, that they should ensure that all their facilities, they take care of everyone. We don't want to leave anyone outside. We have to take everybody along with us. Thank you.
We will take one more question because of time. This lady has had her hand up for a while.
Thank you very much. My question is going to be very direct, maybe from the last panel that presented. So we all want to sit at the decision-making table, but when you do sit at the table, there are some challenges that you face. For example, you say things, they are not heard. You can say something as a woman, and then a man says the exact same thing, and then it's incorporated. So how have you dealt with such challenges, number one? Number two, simple things like I've sat at a table, I've sat at a table where there are white men, and they're like, oh, Leandra, would you like a cup of tea? And then I sit on a different table. My fellow blacks are like, Leandra, can you make us tea? So how do you then navigate, and how do you deal with such issues when you do sit at the table? Thank you.
Please keep it to less than 30 seconds because we have to go for lunch.
Thank you very much. I'm Francisca Masika from Tanzania. I'm from the private sector. I just want to say thank you to all what has been happening. It has been great. But I just want to say to the women, we are enough. We don't need to give ourselves excuses. I'm a mother of 5 children, and from the journey I've been studying, I graduated, I have a company, and it is possible. We are enough.
We are enough. Thank you very much. There you have it, ladies. You have been told that you are enough. And we also heard earlier, what time do you disconnect? What time do you take care of yourselves? Some me time is always very important. We will now break for lunch. I have 2 announcements. One, we have exhibitions right at the end when you're about to get to the gate where it's written Elephant Hills. Please take time to pass through there and have a look at what they're selling. A lot of people have, put a lot of effort into their exhibition stands. And then in the afternoon, we will have the closing session. We have to be seated by exactly 5 minutes to 2 so that we start with the closing ceremony. So at this point in time, it's time for lunch. We can go downstairs to the restaurant. Bon appétit. The exhibitions will close